Kazakhstan violates the citizens' rights for assembly, reported on Wednesday Human Rights in Almaty. According to them, the state legislation doesn't comply with international norms regulating the rights for assembly. Recently, journalist Sergei Duvanov presented the results of his research to diplomatic missions representatives in Astana, but so far no reaction followed.
The Human Rights Bureau stated that Kazakh authorities deliberately limit the freedom of assembly. Based upon the research in the law applying practices in the country, legal expert Svetlana Orosbayeva is confident that the situation is getting worse. There's a downward trend, and the OSCE chairmanship has not helped us at all. Indeed, the situation became worse due to introduced amendments to the administrative code, which now does not protect citizens who are charged with organizing peaceful rallies. The mentioned research was completed in 5 months, covering 6 major cities of Kazakhstan. It observed the behavior of the civil society members. The results speak for themselves, as only 28 rallies were held during that period. All others were simply suspended or prohibited. Journalist Ekaterina Belyaeva's failed protest in Almaty is one of the examples. Just like in this case, most of the rallies result in quick arrests, trials and fines. Human rights specialists claim that the Kazakh legislation contradicts international norms when it comes to laws regulating the freedom of assembly. Regulations do not cover marches and demonstrations at all. How can people have a demonstration in a park where rallies are allowed? Should they walk around the Lenin statue? This is silly. Rallies and demonstrations as types of assembly are terminated in Kazakhstan. Just an example, last time when the Alga party attempted to organize a demonstration in the city, the police detained its participants. Human rights activists propose to bring the national legislation in line with the international norms and practices, while cautioning that the upcoming administrative reform and the new code could introduce even more repressive measures. Moreover, the new documents do not even include notions as warnings.
Some breaking news now. On Wednesday evening, public activist Yermek Narymbayev was sentenced to 4 years in a minimum security prison. Coincidentally, the sentence was announced on Narymbayev's 40th birthday.
Пусть будет проклята казахстанская судебная система. Пусть ее проклянет Аллах.
The crowd shouted disgrace to the court as the verdict was announced on the case of Yermek Narymbayev. Family members and friends gathered inside and outside of the courthouse, taking the news very emotionally. The prosecution claims that Narymbayev is guilty of assaulting Police Lieutenant Sidikov, tearing off Captain Albakirov's stripe and offending the judge. At the same time, the verdict was softened due to the suspect leaving behind 3 underage children and can be appealed within 15 days. Narymbayev was absent during the sentence announcement as he refused to be present in the court due to his birthday.
The verdict could have been less strict if my client used recommendations on his behavior.
Another problem occurred in the south of Kazakhstan. The regional blood center may be left without technical specialists, as the entire staff, consisting of 10 people, collectively decided to quit, saying they are forced to do so by the acting head doctor.
The southern Kazakhstan may face blood shortage as the entire staff of the regional blood center intends to quit their jobs. The protest is against the downsizing of the organization to 4 workers initiated by the center's new director, Sundet Rahimberdiyev. Without an operator, for instance, the equipment may not last even 2 months because the machine may stop functioning at any time. Even a simple electricity surge requires emergency attention to continue working. The South Kazakhstan Blood Center was opened 2 years ago. The equipment there cost the state almost $7 million. The unique machines should be operated exclusively by well-trained specialists, say the center employees. Czech specialists helped us to set up the equipment and instructed personnel. Maybe the new director wants to employ his own people, but the question is, can they operate it because it requires special training? So far, none of the resignations were approved by the management. The regional healthcare department has interfered in the situation, and now the authorities are talking about the reconsideration of the staff downsize in order to avoid the escalation of the scandal. I ask you to give us 2 days. Nobody will be laid off. There's no problem. The local healthcare department could also end up linked to the scandal, as the blood center's ex-director Marat Daumenov, who has been dismissed from his position, is going to file a lawsuit against the authorities.
Kazakh legislators have shown concerns about the orphan children of the country. They raise alert that graduates of orphanage join the ever-growing army of unemployed and often end up in prostitution or criminal rings. The Member of Parliament Vladimir Nekharoshev has come up with an initiative to take proper care of orphans.
Parliamentarian Vladimir Nekharoshev is concerned about the fate of the country's children. He produced depressing statistics according to which more than 2,000 orphans graduate from orphanages every year, and more than 11,000 of them are waiting to receive housing. Since orphans usually have low chances for employment, most end up in criminal environment. Today we're witnessing how most of these orphans join the army of prostitutes and criminals in our society. This is a very serious issue. At the same time, the Education Minister Jansi Tuminbayev doesn't share the dramatics of the issue as presented by the MP. The official says that orphans' housing issue is being resolved gradually. This year alone, 3 new young people's homes will be launched into operation. At the same time, the minister complained that it is the burden for the state to take care of orphans upon graduation. They are offered some work in young people's homes, as otherwise it will be too expensive for the state to take care of them. According to my data, we always try to help them. Each year, the young people's homes accommodate 300 graduates on average. Parliamentarians propose to reward the companies which employ orphans and consider revising the law on orphans' housing. The issue of providing orphanage graduates with housing needs a serious consideration and support, and the corresponding ministry should include it as the budget item to finance this endeavor. Reporting to deputies, the Education Minister promised to take the issue under his control. However, he didn't specify when the orphans will be provided with housing.
The MPs seem to have a holiday mood during Wednesday's session. They have reviewed around 30 bills on the agenda in one go and adopted most of them without proper discussions. Only one law, which regulates the customs union norms, became a subject of heated debates. But even in this case, deputies seem to be more concerned about the upcoming vacation troubles.
Kazakh parliamentarians are in holiday mood, even though there's 1 week to go before the official vacations. Amongst many laws, only one is raising hot discussions. MP Ramin Madinov wanted to know how much cash can be taken outside the country according to the new regulations. The finance minister explained that the amount is unlimited within the territory of the customs union. Regarding the countries outside the customs union, the general rules apply, which is up to $3,000 undeclared. Any sum exceeding this amount is subject to declaration. While male parliamentarians were curious about amounts, their female colleagues were more concerned about the weight of imported goods. The new regulations allow transporting no more than 50 kilos of commodities with a cost of up to 1,500 euros. Parliamentarians seem disappointed, as it is hard to imagine coming back from vacation without loads of presents. Let's say a person is coming back from vacation or business trip and they need to take along personal items. Even if we forget about the 50 kilos rule, what about 1,500 euros limit? Travelers usually spend their lost money abroad, so how will they pay the overload fees? We all buy presents when we travel. I'm not talking about personal items, but a person is coming back with a bag full of presents with labels and price tags on them. And now we must pay 30% of the item's cost? There's no such practice in Europe. The rest of the 29 questions on the agenda were reviewed by the MPs in a record-setting pace by simply adopting the bills without any debates.